And my translation's slightly different to Sue's, and I don't know if anyone else has looked up the readings at all. But where I think yours said demon, I think it was demon, mine uses the word Beelzebul. Beelzebul. So remember that because that's in my talk just now. So may I speak in the name of God, who is creator, redeemer, and sustainer. Amen. So I am focusing on our gospel reading today, and it is quite a challenging one. I could possibly hit some raw nerves in what I say, so if I do, I apologise. And I want to suggest that you take plenty of time to digest and to reflect in the coming week. During a war, a plane transporting a group of boys out of danger crashes on an isolated island with no adult survivors. The boys have to fend for themselves. Initially, they pull together and are resourceful, cooperative, and democratic. They elect one of their number as their leader and agree that their priorities are to have fun and to attract attention. They light a fire using a pair of glasses and take turns to keep it going. They then set about building shelters, finding water and gathering food. And for a while, it feels idyllic. But before long, differences emerge, and a rival group, the Hunters, is formed, led by the choir boy, Jack. Fear and superstition soon start to take a grip on the boys, and some of the little uns become afraid of a beast that they imagine is lurking on the island. When they find what they suppose to be the beast, their terror intensifies, and any semblance of order quickly deteriorates with shocking results. At the heart of William Goldsmith's novel, Lord of the Flies, is the premise that if you scratch beneath the surface of man-made culture, it's not long before civilization breaks down and people regress to a primitive state of savagery. Today's gospel reading comes early in Jesus' ministry, and it's worth setting it in context. So far in Mark's gospel, Jesus has been in a whirlwind of preaching and miracles. He has driven out unclean spirits, convulsing and crying. He's cured Simon's mother-in-law, cleansed a leper, healed a paralyzed man and a man with a withered hand. And his magnetism and charisma are as astonishing as his miracles. Huge crowds have been gathering around him, and at his command, people are leaving everything to follow him, including the fishermen Simon and Andrew and the tax collector Levi. There's a palpable sense of excitement, bewilderment, and fear in the first 3 chapters of Mark. You may like to read it again this week. For some people, it's an opportunity to seek healing, while for others, particularly the Jewish establishment, it's very alarming. Jesus has started to meet the authorities head-on, challenging their entrenched ideas about the Sabbath. By the time we catch up with him in today's reading, the beleaguered scribes have started a whispering campaign, saying, "He has Beelzebul." Beelzebul, by the way, as well as being another name for the devil, is also translated as Lord of the Flies. Often when we read the Gospels, we characterize the authorities' attitude towards Jesus as a simple power struggle. And it's true that through heavy-handed application of the laws and petty bureaucracy, the scribes and Pharisees carved for themselves a cozy little niche which brought them a sense of moral superiority and financial benefits. But there's much more to it, because Jesus represents a threat on many levels. He is becoming dangerously associated with the underclass, with madness, and with convulsing, crying demons. It's terrifying stuff. And if we'd been there in the crowd, no doubt we'd have felt it too. It's that strange combination of attraction and terror that compels us to stare at a car accident or to gawp at the sight of a celebrity having a meltdown. Because Jesus is, in fact, consorting with chaos and scratching the surface of anarchy that lies beneath civilization. So not only are the scribes afraid of having the power balance disrupted, they are also downright terrified of the turmoil that Jesus is unleashing. And they do what many of us do. They batten down the hatches and go into defensive mode. So desperate are they to hang on to this civilization which they've created around them, that their response is to become even more controlling and authoritarian. In William Golding's novel, The Beast turns out to be the corpse of an airman. In other words, something human. And nowadays, we tend to interpret demons in the Bible as inner demons, the dark side of human nature. Because when we're up against it, we all have within us the capacity for chaos. It's telling that in The Lord of the Flies, it's the formerly angelic chorister, Jack, who descends furthest into savagery. Perhaps because he, like the Jewish authorities, has furthest to fall. That's not to say that we should become anarchists, but that we would do well to acknowledge our own capacity for chaos. This frenetic pace of life that Jesus was living was unsustainable, and I'm sure it took its toll. Whereas the scribes placed themselves firmly outside the family, Mary tried to close the natural family around Jesus for his protection. His brusque response to her message could be seen as the passion of a young man caught up in the intensity of his mission. His answer was not, in fact, to reject his family as his nearest kin, but to expand his family circle drastically, to include anyone who did the will of God and wanted to follow him. However, I am sure this was not easy for Mary. God's presence among us today may be equally disturbing to our way of life before it can be liberating. Amen.